Okay, so now we have all the preliminary information to understand. We have talked about like enterprise resource planning system as a system that store data coming from the execution of business processes. Now, which type of data are stored in enterprise resource planning system, and in particular in SAP? Three type of data: organizational data, master data, and transaction data. And you see here the some examples. So organizational data include everything that is related to the company organization. Master data include all the, let's say, unit of analysis of the process in a company, while transaction data are all the documents that are generated when executing a process in a company. Let's start with organizational data. Organizational data include all the data that define the structure of a company or an enterprise organization, and in particular realize they are organized to, let's say, realize the hierarchy of an organization. In particular, this is the hierarchy of the organizational data in SAP. At the highest level, we have what is called the enterprise level. Then we have the companies, and then we have the plant. What does it mean? The enterprise level, also known as the client, is the highest organizational level and represent the enterprise, which can be like including, which can be comprised of many companies. And you see exactly here what does it mean with an example. Nestlé, it's a big group. They include different type of sub-companies like San Pellegrino, like Nesquik, like Laffy Taffy. All of these are companies part of the same client. So a client represents the highest organizational level in SAP ERP, and it represent the company, the group of which different like subsidiaries belong to. At the second level, we have what is called the company code. The company code instead represent the different companies that belong to the same client. So remember that a client, the group, can be composed by multiple company codes, so can be associated to different company codes. A company code, so a company within a group must belong only to one client. Again, San Pellegrino, company code, belongs to one client, Nestlé. Nestlé client is made of multiple company codes. At the lowest level, we have the so-called plant. Plant are called plant, but they can actually be in factory, warehouse, office, distribution center, are like the organizational element where activities are executed. So they can be used by many processes, and they are where like activities are materially executed. So product service created, material stored and used for distribution, production planning carried out, balance sheet and income statement calculated, server service or maintenance are performed. So are the actual facilities where processes are executed. Again, there can be these are examples like factories, warehouse, offices, distribution centers, fulfillment centers, whatever, whichever location where processes and activities are executed. Three different types of organizational data: client, companies, and plant. This is an example of an example of plant within an organization. So here, factories, distribution center, and customers. So all of these represent plant code in SAP for the company that is represented by this supply chain. In the case of GBI, you should be familiar with that by drawing the organizational chart. GBI Enterprise is the client, which include two different companies and company code. US and German, and then within the US company, for example, we have seen that we have 3 plants. These 3 plants represent facilities which are coded in SAP as a plant organizational unit. The second type of data is called master data. Master data are long-term data which are associated to the entities that participate to business processes. For example, customer, for example, vendor, for example, material, as you can see here. So they are all the entity that participate to the business process and for which SAP need to maintain some information. Which information? General data, for example, address of the supplier, region, type of currency, type of previous contract, financial data, which are of course company code specific, and like for which area they belong to or they are of interest. Like for example, a supplier would be of interest of purchasing and production. Okay, so master data include all the entities that participate in a specific process. Again, the example are customer, supplier, and material. Employee as well are part of the master data of a company, but are like the single elements, the single entity that execute and contribute to the execution of the activities of the process. Of course, they are usually shared by different processes. Okay, so procurement, fulfillment, production, material planning, asset management, project system, and lifecycle data management are examples of processes. For example, if you think about supplier is a master data, so data about supplier are needed both by production and procurement and material planning. Data about the customer are needed by fulfillment and they are needed by production. So some material master are shared across different processes. Among these, the most important master data are the one concerning material. Material are everything that in the company is managed from a physical perspective. Can be raw material, can be finished goods, can be work in progress, can be whatever falls within the category of material. Material are the typical master data which is shared across multiple processes. Material are needed when we talk about procurement, material are needed when you talk about fulfillment, and we are talking about finished product, production, material planning, asset management. So they are the most important data stored in an SAP, and in enterprise resource planning system database. And these exactly represent what I just told you. So material include a material master data include a lot of information like sale data, plant storage data, warehouse management data, MRP, purchasing, management accounting, financial accounting, and basic data related to the material. Of course, according to the nature of the material, all of this area can be present or not. But the point is that while, for example, basic data are shared and are visible to every process that use this material master data, for example, sales data will be only visible to people dealing with order fulfillment. Purchasing data will be only visible, for example, who is the vendor providing this material, will be only visible to the people that use this material for in the procurement process. So material master include several type of tab and data, but then only some of them are visible to actor in the process according to the type of process that is asking information about this material master data. Which type of material types we can find in SAP? We distinguish between raw materials, ROH, which are all the materials that are purchased from external and not sold for any reason, but they are used in production. Of course, raw material will have purchasing data. production data because they need to be included in production, but like they don't have any sales information because they are not sold. Then we have the so-called semi-finished goods, or HALB, which are produced using other materials, which can be raw materials or other semi-finished goods. They are usually used in the production of other material, and they are not purchased or sold. So this data only belongs to production, because semi-finished goods are working process goods used during a production process. So usually it's something that is typically used by production, and it doesn't and usually it doesn't have any other type of view and data outside production. Then we have finished goods, which are finished goods to be sold to customer and use other material like semi-finished goods and raw material to be produced. And they're usually sold to customer, which means that they will have production but also sale related view, FERT. And then we have finally trading goods. Trading goods are finished goods not produced internally but purchased as it is and resold without additional processing. Like, for example, in the GBI case, there are some accessories that are bought from external and sold to the customer, but they are not produced by GBI, because they are just bought as finished goods from an external supplier and resold without additional processing. In this case, no purchasing, no production related views, and no production data will be included in the material master, but we will have instead purchasing data and sales data and related views. This view is not exhaustive, okay? These are the most relevant, but there are also numerous other type of material type and material master data, like DIAN services, ERSA spare parts, finished goods FERT, HIBE operating supplies. So we will just deal mostly with these in our cases, but please don't forget that like this is not an exhaustive view of the material types. This is the exhaustive view, and sometimes in the SAP, similar group of material can be put together in another code created for the company, which is called material group. For example, I don't know, operating supply and configurable material, for the purpose of the company, they are the same, okay? So they are coded like that in SAP, but they cannot be grouped under another code like ABC, which is called material group. And so when you call the material ABC, you include both operating supply and configurable material. If you want to review material types for a specific company in the SAP Easy Access let's say window, you have to go through material management, and then you have to open material master, material, create. So imagine you have to create a material, and here you can see all the type of material that are available for the company. In the case of GBI, if you try, you have raw material, semi-finished product, finished product, operating supply, so all the ones that are listed here. If a material type is not here, it means that is not relevant for the company. If you want to see which type of data are associated to a particular material, you have to access material, display, display current. So you are asking the system, okay, we have coded a bunch of material, I want to display some of them. A new transaction window will open. This is a transaction, so you are selecting the display current material master data. Here, for example, that's just an example, I have selected the EPAD 1002, which was one of the 1000 material that GBI has coded in SAP. And here, as you can see, you can view how many data as you want. So this material has associated basic data 1 or 2, sales organizational data, and you have to select which one are relevant for your case, and that's what will be displayed. So you see that for elbow pads, this type of elbow pads, you have different tabs where all the data that have been coded for elbow pad will show on the screen, and you can navigate and see, for example, which is the basic unit of measure, which division asks this type of material, which material group they belong to, how much is the gross weight, and so on. Transaction data instead, so just organizational data, code the organization, material data, master data, code the entity in the process, and in particular the most important are the material. Transaction data instead code all the documents that are generated during the execution of a process step. So of course they require organizational data and master data, because you have to associate this document to the organization that have generated the document and the entity that are associated to this document, but they represent the document. For example, a purchase order, a purchase requisition, a sales order, a delivery document, a production order. These are all examples of transaction data. When you execute a process, you need a document, exactly as in the example of the account payable process of the Ford company. So you generate data, and this data through document need to be stored somewhere. These are transaction data that can be accessed. These data this document include organizational elements. For example, if it is a sale order, you need to know which client the sales order belongs to, which company code, and among the company code, which is the sales area generating that document. Master data, because who is the customer to the sale, like to which the sale order referred to, and what is sold to the customer, so the material. And then situational data, like when the document has been generated, at which time, and who was the person generating this document. Transaction data, again, as I told you, are documents that include organizational data, master data, and situational data. Who, when, and where, and customer, vendor, and material, and client, company, core, and client. So these are, let's say, they are linked to all the previous type of data that we covered before. Example of transaction data, for example, transaction documents are all transaction data, like purchasing requisition, purchase order, invoices, delivery document are all documents generating transaction data in SAP. All the financial accounting document and all the transaction that impact financial accounting, for example, buying a new asset, generate a transaction data because they generate a financial accounting document. All the management accounting document, like for example, a report about the cost of producing a new product, generate a transaction data because it's a management accounting document, as well as let's say some material documents, like if you want to know where a material is located and in which quantity, and you require a report about the value and the location of a material, this report is a document generated by the process related to a material reporting, and this generates a transaction data recorded in SAP. For example, if we are talking about a purchase order, like how a purchase order is structured in reality and in SAP, there is an header where like we report basically the main organizational and master data and situational data to which the document referred to, and then the line items that reports the detail about the document. So in this case, we see that the purchase order has been issued by Global Bicycle to Olympic Protective Gear, which is a supplier. They need to be shipped to the San Diego distribution center, and this is the number associated to the purchase order. Either okay? Purchase order number this, issue when, with this kind of condition. What has been requested? 100 units of knee pads, 100 units of elbow pads, and 50 off-road helmets, with a total $8,750. In SAP, the document is coded exactly as it appears like in paper. So if you want to access, for example, a purchase order, you access the transaction, logistics, materials management, purchasing, purchase order, purchase requisition, display, standard purchase order, and here you have exactly the order as displayed. You see that the header with the information, I mean, the header is not like, it's compressed in this case, but here you see the items is exactly structured as you were seeing. Finally, in SAP, connected to data record, you have also possibility to generate some reporting. So SAP collects some data, and you can at certain point generate some reporting. There are two types of reporting that you can do in SAP. This one is not part of this course because refers to the usage of analytical application, which again refers to the OLAP information system. So you apply to the SAP database OLAP application to generate analytics from the database management system of the ERP system and support decision making. So this is not of our interest, but you can do that like directly from the SAP database. You can extract information and put it in data warehouse and do some type of reporting that, like the one about Walmart that we saw. What is interesting is two types of reporting that at any point in the process you can generate with SAP, which is work list and online list. So work list basically is a list of document or work that is stored in SAP at a certain point in the process and is classified as to be completed. Basically, when you open, like in this case, you can you are executing, like for example, a delivery process, and the delivery process generates some document, and of course, as far as the process has not been completed, the documents remain open. Okay, so if you want to know which documents are open and need to be completed, what you have to do is to generate a work list in SAP. In SAP, you see now, again, we will have the opportunity to see it like more in detail, but just to give you the idea of what is that. So here you see SAP display the list of documents that are open. For example, in this case, there is a picking due list, which means that you have generated a picking document to pick some material probably in the warehouse, but or you haven't done yet, or if you did, you didn't like marked as completed this activity. So the document in SAP is still in progress. So here SAP is telling you, please pay attention that you have a picking due list for an outbound delivery that has not been completed. I have a document there open, not completed, so please, before closing the process, remember to check this document and close it and complete it. Or it can be a billing due list, like if you have to still pay someone, it's telling you you have generating, like for example, a payment document, but you haven't paid yet, or you haven't closed the payment document. So it's reminding you that there are still documents open to be completed. Opposed to the online list, which instead realized a summary of what happened during the process. So the online list summarized all the master data used in a process and the documents that have been generating during the process. So basically, you can access from the list, the SAP list viewer, the number of the process, of the number of the transaction that you are referring to, and SAP will show you, according also to selecting the type of document you want to display, will show you exactly all the master data and all the documents that have been generated and used during the execution of that process.